Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Boom! And this is just doing a real good job this season. I really didn't even feel that there were really any B storylines in this one. It just all weaved so well together into the main story of trying to find Radcliffe. And we got the beginning of seeing Coulson and Mac trying to get a beat on Radcliffe, and they're looking for someone who looks like Ada, because there's got to be some point of reference that Radcliffe had to make an LMD that looks like Ada. So they're trying to find out if that person who looks like Ada has any information on Radcliffe, where he could be, what he's doing, what his goals are, and trying to find Meg. And it's kind of cool seeing Coulson trying to deal with that and trying to be better at doing impulsive actions and recklessness and trying to be that better guy so that way crazier crap doesn't happen. So after we kind of seeing that, we're seeing Mace and Simmons talking about like what's going on with the serum and all that, and Simmons is like, I'm going to recommend not to use that anymore because it could potentially give you cardiac arrest, and that each time you would take it after the time that it doesn't do it greatly increases the chances of that happening. And then seeing Fitz coming in, working on an LMD detector in the hallway as he gets the super suit for Mace. He's like, hey, I've got an end system, delivery system for your serum. And, Simmons is like, no, that's a no-go. He's like, you could have stopped me before I did all my spiel and everything. It's like, dang it. And that was pretty cool to kind of see Mace kind of grapple with the fact that he doesn't have these superpowers anymore, even though they were kind of temporary, and trying to figure out his role in the team. Because he's not really the director anymore. He's more the figurehead. He can't really help out in the field because he's talking about him getting trained and not being as tactically proficient because the agent he was training with was able to take him out in 10 seconds. But Simmons is then trying to like build him up and be like, well, next time it'll take her 12 seconds. And all that kind of stuff. And it's really kind of cool to build his character up because at first you're thinking he's going to have just like these clearly defined kind of like, oh, he's going to be a good guy or a bad guy. And then him kind of actually trying to find a place on the team is working pretty well so far. So then we kind of get into Radcliffe talking with the Superior and being kind of ticked off that the Superior messed with the Darkhold to see if Radcliffe was the answer to the Inhuman things, like the Inhuman problem that he wants. And it did answer yes, and then they kind of get into their spiel of trying to get to Coulson, so they're trying to figure out how to bait S.H.I.E.L.D. with like an Inhuman. So Radcliffe was able to refine the Terrigen crystals, so that way they can trigger Terrigenesis and have a ready-made human that would bring S.H.I.E.L.D. to them. So this then sets off the course that Shockley goes, because their only kind of idea of someone who could possibly be affected by the Terrigen crystals would be Senator Nadir, because her brother was. So he goes in acting all cocky and everything, and we hear Nadir trying to still stick some bad things to S.H.I.E.L.D. by trying to like use the UN and all that, and then he cracks open the crystal, and instead of it affecting Nadir, it affects Shockley. And she, of course, is gloating over this, but then this explosion happens that kills her. And I was kind of surprised by that, and even like Daisy and the rest of S.H.I.E.L.D. were surprised. They're like, yeah, it's confirmed that she's dead. And I'm like, granted, I kind of like, I liked that, but I'm like, if you don't see a dead body, I don't know. You never know. I'm treating her that she's dead at the moment, and I'm like, that's a pretty big move. But then again, she has just been a kind of catalyst to get people to get to the Superior and the real threat. She was just kind of there until we got to that point. And that's okay. It's just I thought they were going to do more with her or whatnot. So that then sets off the course that Shockley goes and lies to the Superior, saying that it was her that blew up, that had went through Terrigenesis and all that. And he pretty much gets captured by Daisy and their team, and he wants to talk with Mace and all that. So while this is going on, we see that Coulson and Mac do get to talk with Agnes, who used to be the girlfriend of Radcliffe, but you find out that she has an inoperable brain tumor that's going to kill her. And this kind of sets off our understanding that Radcliffe ran away, in her opinion, because he couldn't fixed her. He failed. And it's like, okay, so he's looking for a way to save her. And as we're seeing this, we're also seeing that he's built up the framework, as he's calling it, which is pretty much a Matrix-like thing, that they've built a whole world to essentially contain May at the moment, but it's working that other things can also work within this framework. His kind of key to like immortality and fixing death. And as that's going on, we get to see where this kind of big push is going as Shockley gets to have Mace and Daisy there and attempts to blow himself up. Because at that moment, Fitz and Simmons figures out that he is the one that's causing the explosion, and Fitz and Mace were able to put him in the like Inhuman depowered capsule and shoot it off as he blew up, so it didn't really do much damage or hurt anybody. But Mace again is still questioning, I couldn't even do that. If I'd had my super strength, I would have been able to do it faster. And then they're just thinking of ways that they can contain him, figuring out how he's able to do it and reform, because he calls the superiors able to bait him in. He's like, even though I'm inhuman, I want to help humanity. So they set up this trap, this big game. And before we get to that, we see that Coulson's able to convince Agnes to help them get in contact with Radcliffe. She's able to do her way to get to him, and she's kind of pissed off that he doesn't come in person, but he knows that she's being watched. And he's like, my idea was wrong to try and cure you. It was supposed to try and cure death. And of course, she goes with him to get that. And of course, Coulson doesn't really feel bad that she did it because she's dying. What else is she going to do? If she can grasp any hope, no matter how small, yes, it kind of screws over May, even though what she'd been hearing about May she liked. It's just like, dang. And that's kind of where we move off at the moment. And then we get back to the big confrontation of their idea of trying to use Daisy to counteract his vibrations because he vibrates himself to explode. So they're dealing with Shockley, and he's like, I can do this all day. So Daisy's idea is to keep blowing him up to wear him out. And I wish that they had done more with this, because they show off their capture device, which looks suspiciously like a Pokeball. I'm like, they're essentially going to Pokeball this son bitch, and that's how it's going to go. And I'm like, it didn't look exactly like a Pokeball, but it was a giant round sphere that had like a capture apparatus that was just like, this is going to be good. So Mace lets them kind of go off. He uses the serum because other Russian forces were coming in to capture people. And they're like, we got the Inhuman Director. We're good. Just leave Shockley. And they just kept blasting him until he got into his kind of gaseous form, and they sucked him up in it. And I'm like, that's great. That's an ingenious idea to get him. And it's kind of cool that they're moving to the point that, yes, they're dealing with supervillains and superpowered people, and they're coming up with different ways to capture and contain them. And it's like, yes, this is what S.H.I.E.L.D. does. I'm glad that they're building up on this, and we're seeing it not just like, oh, it's got the same old way of capturing people. These people have different powers and different abilities. You need, in certain cases, specialized things, like this sphere, to catch them like a Pokemon. So that was pretty well done and well executed, and then we get to the end where we see that they take Agnes and they upload her consciousness into the framework, and then her body dies. And we see some interesting reactions out of Ada, because as she was going through the contact and all this and learning about her and all that, she's kind of disturbed that she's not unique. She thought she was a unique individual. And even though they had the other LMD, Ada, that didn't bother her as much as being modeled off of Agnes. And then as Agnes died, she took the necklace that was around her neck and put it on herself. So there's going to be, I think, some differences that we're seeing and kind of interesting conflicts that are going to be coming from Ada in the future. And then it also pans over, and we see May is twitching facially and doing stuff, so they might not have her as contained as they think. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode and what they were doing and how they were advancing and kind of like getting the story, and I'm really kind of interested to see how this conflict is going to play out with the Superior, how they're going to possibly bring back Nadir's brother, and what that's going to cause, and overall where this season's going to end and where it's heading. So, those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.